Hey everybody, so in this lesson I'm going to talk you through a couple of simple exercises that I use and that I've worked on with my students when it comes to building up octaves. Now, if you are the sort of person that is very into your disco, maybe you're into your Jamiroquai, I will be releasing a version of Canned Heat, just a quick heads up for all of my subscribers out there. Octaves are absolutely integral to those sorts of bass lines, and several students over the years have come to me wanting exercises to kind of build up their stamina and fluidity playing octaves across the bass neck, because some of those bass lines, the octaves are just incessant, they just don't stop. Now, a couple of technical things to kind of get out of the way quite quickly. When I play octaves, most of the time I use string raking. But when I'm playing octaves, to me, the idea of playing an octave, for example, if I was to play an octave, this is just C, index to middle, and then rake down to repeat, it feels very strange and counterintuitive. So instead of bothering with string raking, I just assign fingers to the lowest and highest notes. Index finger plays the lowest note of the octave, middle finger plays the highest note, and it just repeats like that. Also, on the fretting hand, 99 times out of 100 I'll be using index and pinky to play the octave. That is not, however, to say that you can't use other combinations, and further up the bass neck, I would recommend, just if you are looking to build absolute fluidity, look at changing out and using different combinations. For example, you could use index and ring, or middle and pinky. So it's good to have those options there, just in case you run into a line where the rest of the line means that you have to use an alternate fingering. But most of the time, it's just going to be index, pinky. Okay, so let's get into this first exercise. I'll do this in free time first, then I'm going to bring some drums to the party, because it's always much more fun playing octaves with some drums. So it's really very simple. We're going to start at A at 12th fret. Play the octave twice, then move down a whole step, and repeat. We'll go all the way down to B flat at 1st fret, then work it all the way back up. So each octave twice, move down a half step. Each octave twice, move down a half step. So let's do this slowly. Do this without the drums for now. 3, 4. Back up. Okay, so relatively simple exercise, but it's a great thing to start building your bass line. Okay, so now let's just work on that with the drums. So this is Groove Trainer Loop Disco 4. Again, massive shout out for the SPL Groove Trainer. Fantastic practice resource. These drum loops, absolute staple of parts of my practice. So I've reduced the tempo very slightly. So this is Disco 4. I've taken the tempo down to 100 BPM. So let's see how we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Like I said, relatively simple exercise, but once you start really bringing the tempo up, start pushing it, it's really going to pay off when you start working on bass lines that have a lot of octave content in them. Now the first little tweak we can make is, instead of always leading, this is always what seems to happen, we lead with the bottom note of the octave. Try leading with the upper note of the octave first. Because sometimes you'll find bass lines where it turns it around. You have to use the upper octave first. So you can repeat the exact same exercise this time. Starting with the upper octave. So let's try this again. Starting at A and A. So that's 12th and 14th fret. So let's do this without... In fact, let's just go... yeah, we can go straight in with the drums. One, 2, 3. So a very, very simple little modification that you can make there, just reverse which note you're starting on. Now, another way that you can modify the exercise, we'll go back to starting on the lowest note. This is a little piece of vocabulary that you will often see in bass lines. Again, any of you go out there and work on Jamiroquai's Canned Heat, you will see this all over it. So those of you that are working on that particular tune, this is a great exercise to integrate. We play an 8th note at the bottom octave and a pair of 16ths on the top octave. So we'll do this one without the drums first, and let's do it quite slowly. So 8th note and a pair of 16ths. Now, a little change I've made technically there. I'm playing the bottom note with my index finger, and then shifting, and I'm playing the first of the 2 16ths also with my index finger. So it's index, index, middle. That's just what I've found to be the most intuitive way to play this particular pattern. Because with this sort of vocabulary, if you have to move it around the bass neck very quickly, you want your excuse me, you want your hands to be essentially completely programmed to do a particular thing. And if this sort of idea, if the hands are perfectly organized, everything is working nicely, you want it absolutely back in here so that you don't need to think technically. Okay, so let's play that round about 1, 2, 3, and. might sound quite straightforward and it might sound quite obvious, but if you can build these kind of pieces of fundamental vocabulary into exercises like this, the more intuitive they become, the more you'll be able to just access them completely on demand, because they'll be completely back in here. Okay, now let's try that one with Disco 4 again. We'll keep the tempo the same, 100 BPM. Let's see how this goes. 1, 2, 3. Stumbled at the very end there. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Then you can work the entire thing again on the E and the D strings. Work that all the way down, all the way back up. All of those 3 exercises you can work on those strings as well. Now, hopefully that has given you a couple of, like I said, relatively simple, quite obvious perhaps, ideas for really starting to build up your exercises. 5 to 10 minutes on these things per day can really make a difference in your fluidity with this sort of vocabulary. Thanks so much for checking out this lesson, guys. If you would like to see a full extended version with some additional stuff, you can click the link to my website down there in the description. You'll also find an ever-increasing transcription vault. I'm releasing a couple of transcriptions a month. You'll also find articles that I've written and a whole lot more. So like I said, link down there in the description. See you soon.